doing to measure what you treasure, and the goal is that we give you guys a few minutes at the end of this in order to get with your teams or coaches or teammates if you don't have a full team here, and really outline your own goals of what that's going to look like for the off season as far as positional training, going into team training, all of that. Okay, how many of you, if I were to ask you right now, hey, what's your biggest goal in softball? How many of you know that answer immediately? Okay, that's some, right? And it gets to the point, especially as you get older, where if there isn't clarity behind what you're doing, it's really hard to accomplish a goal if we don't know clearly what that goal is that we're trying to accomplish, right? So this is going to help us work through outlining what we should be doing and what those goals should be. So when we talk measure what you treasure, the things that we're going to talk through as far as the treasures of our lives are how we use our present time, what lessons we carry with us from the past, and how we use those things to set goals for the future. We have to look at all three sides of it. So when we think about the present time, are the questions that I want you to reflect on for a minute, and these are simple yes or no. Okay, do you use your time in a way that is structured? Now, that doesn't mean 24 hours of your day, you're going to bed the exact same time every day, but do you have a structure to your life, to what you do on a day-to-day basis? Okay, is it meaningful? Do you use your present time in a meaningful way? Is your rest actually restful? Are you sleeping because that's just what your body needs, or are you taking strategic rest for your body, your muscles, your head, your mind, all of those things? Okay, are your body and mind present in your day-to-day? Okay, that sounds like a weird question. Of course, they're all together, but it's really easy to be a zombie through our days and not be as mentally present as we could be in what we're doing. Okay, that's school, that's training, that's at home, every aspect. Okay, and am I pushing myself to work harder and smarter than I did yesterday? And that doesn't mean exponentially better, right? Harder and smarter just means better than the day before. Okay, am I better than the day before? When we look at the lessons from our past, the topics that we want to talk about and really get into there, or do I have more positive or negative memories rooted in me? Okay, we are affected deeply by our past, the things that we've gone through, the things that have made us who we are, but we have to take inventory of that past and know if those things are positive or negative. Second piece is, can I revisit those positives or negatives without eliciting an emotional response? Am I able to separate my emotion, my feelings, from what's already happened in the past? Okay, most of us have at least one thing, softball, non-softball, whatever, that you can think back on, and as soon as you think about it, you feel deeply, immediately, right? Maybe that was a big at-bat where you got stressed out. Maybe it was the big win in the tournament championship, the big hit you got. Okay, but those feelings come back immediately, and we have to get to a place that we can choose to separate that emotion from those situations so that we don't take on that persona of the negative feelings that we might have felt in the past when we look back on something. Okay, did I learn those lessons? That's a step to make sure that we don't have an emotional response. When I fail, do I learn? Or have I just failed and the only thing I learned is how to be more afraid, how to repeat that same mistake, how to make excuses? Okay, a lot of different lessons that you can learn, and have I implemented strategies in order to fail forward? Okay, we'll get into what some of those strategies are, and depending on your age, you might want to use different ones compared to other people. You might want to dive in a little bit deeper than some others. Okay, but the goal is that you can take something from it to make sure that you are moving from your past better. Okay, so when we talk goals for the future, like I said on the front end, if there's no clarity, there's no vision. Okay, you got to look at it like this. If I'm doing archery and I go out to shoot and there's no target, there's nothing for me to aim at. So without a target, I cannot aim. And as soon as I have aim, that provides direction, and then I can push myself to actually accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. Okay, are my goals smart? SMART goals. And that's going to be your action step at the end. Okay, SMART goals is an acronym that stands for specific. Are our goals specific? Are they measurable? Are they attainable? Are they relevant? And are they time-based? Do we have an end date for when we want to accomplish our goal by? Because if we don't, it's really easy to have this big goal and be like, I want to do this. And then years go by and you never move any closer to it because you haven't deadlined yourself. Okay, one of the most powerful things that you can give your own self is a deadline, because then you're putting yourself on the clock, right? You don't want to let your own self down. Okay, and am I reflecting over my performance and adapting my present to move closer to those goals daily. Meaning when you leave positionals and there were 4 or 5 things that you really struggled with that day through the different sessions that you did, are you using your Always Grind book to reflect on those skills and what drills you can do to work on those away from positionals? We'll talk through it. So when we talk about today, okay, this is the action steps of being present, the goal of getting 1% better every day, and you got this little math equation at the bottom which says IG times T equals EG. Okay, what that means is incremental growth, small growth, little growth, multiplied by time, leads us to exponential or big growth. So small growth every day gives us big growth. Okay, what happens a lot of times as an athlete is if you schedule that you're going to go to the gym for an hour, and then you look at the clock in that day and you realize, man, I'm only going to have 35 minutes if I go. You decide to not go at all. You give up incremental growth because it just doesn't seem big enough for you. Okay, I do it all the time, especially with workouts. I feel that. Okay, none of us are going to be perfect. But the goal is if we can grow a little bit every single day and continue to move that needle forward, if you think about where you're at today and you think about where you would be in 3 months, if every single day you got just a little bit better, you'd be a different player. You'd be a different person, right? But it's those gaps in giving up incremental growth, not pursuing those things on a day-to-day basis that keep us level. Okay, and truly there's no such thing as level, because if you're staying level and other people around you are working hard, then you're really on the downward scale because they're moving past you, right? So if you think neutral, there's no such thing as far as getting better or getting worse. You're always doing one or the other. All right, so when we look at that, 14 minutes and 24 seconds is exactly 1% of your day. And our goals, when we think about the present, is that you spend 1% of your day focusing on yourself. Now, when I say focusing on yourself, that does not include you going to positionals. That does not include you going to team practice, you doing your lessons. All of those are physical things. And if we grow our physical, that's great, but I could be the greatest physical player on the planet and not make it to the highest levels of the game if my mental isn't right. Okay? The difference as you get into higher levels of athletics, okay, some of you in here, I love that we have some of our 8U, 9U, 10U girls in here. I love that. Some of you guys are in high school, right? But the skill gap at 8, 9, 10, 11 is pretty big. And some of that's just development of the natural body and how people are and who can do those things. But as you get older, the skill gap shrinks. Okay, so high school softball, the skill gap is much closer than it is at youth softball. College softball, the skill gap is much closer. So you got to think there's something that separates these players that are playing at the highest level versus lower levels than that, and the difference is their mindset, their mentality, their ability to fail over and over and be excited about that failure, rather than being pushed down by that, feeling like they can't get back up. I'm this player now. Okay, it's that confidence that you build from focusing on yourself. So 14 minutes, 24 seconds a day to do something for yourself mentally. Okay? Some of the things that you can do, number 1 is morning writing, GGAs. Okay, that means goals, gratitude, affirmations. Really simple. You write 9 total things down. Your goals, you write 3 of them every single day. And that way when somebody asks you, hey, what's your biggest goal? What are you trying to accomplish? You've thought about it every single day, so you know. Right? The amount of people that I can ask that question to and they're like, well, I have goals, but then they can't really share them. Okay, think about it. If you have to question how to respond, then you yourself in your own mind don't fully understand what you're trying to accomplish, right? So if there's clarity of the way that you can speak about it to somebody else, then there's definitely clarity in the way that you think about it. All right, so we got to put ourselves in a position that we can clearly state what our goals are. Those don't all have to be softball. Okay, big believer here that how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you have goals for life, you're going to have goals for softball. Right? So when you write out your goals, that can be whatever you want. I can tell you every morning I write win 40 games, and that's for my travel team. Okay? That would be a huge season for us. That's my baseball goal for my travel team. Okay? Every single day I write out have the biggest impact, which is a goal that can never be accomplished, but a goal that pushes me every day to try to impact others and whatever that looks like. Okay? And every day in there I write plus socials. Because I enjoy doing social media. It's fun to post training stuff out there and do that. And if I don't hold myself accountable, then I just don't do it at all. which sometimes is nice too, right? But those are my goals that I write out every day, okay? But sometimes your goals change, and that's okay if you've written the same things for 3 weeks and suddenly you're like, I don't really care about that anymore. That's fine. What do you care about? Okay? Make sure that there's clarity. Second piece to that is plan your day. Prioritize and kiss the frog. Anybody like super excited about kissing a frog? Yeah? We got a few of you? Y'all are gross. Okay? When we talk kissing a frog, here's what it means. Marley's heard me say this a million times. The idea that when you start your day, there is something extremely powerful about doing something difficult to start your day. About overcoming some type of challenge in the morning that tells you that you can be successful, that you can do hard things. Okay, so for me, I take a cold shower every morning. Still hate it, still love the benefits, and I'll still do it every morning. Okay, for some people, that's waking up. For some of your moms or your dads, that's waking up and putting in the laundry. It's waking up and doing the dishes. That's taking the trash, doing things that you don't want to do that just absolutely need done. Okay, so what is that for you to start your day? Okay, maybe that's 5 minutes of wall ball to get your hands right to start the day. You just don't want to do it. Do it. Okay, do something every single morning that you don't want to do and prioritize what that day looks like, because here's what happens. It's really easy to outline your entire day, have these big plans of what you're going to do, and then one thing goes wrong and your entire schedule is thrown off. Okay, I'm there a lot. I get it. So you got to prioritize. What's the most important things that you have to get done that day versus what are the things that you'd like to get done? Okay, there's a big difference, and when you learn to prioritize, it makes it a lot easier for you to stay on track for the most vital things. And then these things, your feet. Be where they are. Okay? Seems really simple since they're attached to our body, but your mind oftentimes isn't present where your feet are. So be where your feet are is just a really good power phrase or constant reminder to yourself that where these things are, my mind also needs to be. I need to be with the people that I'm with, engaged with what I'm doing, and being present in every aspect that I can. That's how you win the present. Okay? When you are engaged and you are where your feet are and you prioritize and you kiss the frog and you do hard things in the morning, it puts you in the position to win the tiny battles and have a you versus you mentality. Okay? Like we said here, incremental growth over time. There are no such thing as these giant battles. Right? If we strip down all of the noise around it, if you are in the World Series, you are playing a baseball game and that's it. Right? Now we all know it's a big game. It's the World Series, but it's a baseball game. Right? If you were in the Women's College World Series, it's a softball game. Nothing's changed, right? Sure, your environment, stuff like that. The game itself is exactly the same. So in order to prepare ourselves to win those things that feel big, we got to win the tiny battles every single day, okay? Are you worried about diet, nutrition, trying to build your body in the right way? Those little pieces of candy throughout the day, they play a role, right? You worried about your workouts, things like that, hitting every single day. Those little drills that you only do 6 reps instead of 10, or you end on a bad one, that plays a role. Okay, so you got to win the tiny battles, and when you do that, you got to hype yourself up. Sometimes I hype myself up when I park. I'm not a great parker. I'm not. I just roll in. I'm not like paying attention most of the time. I just kind of like roll in. My wife makes fun of me about it sometimes. I'm sideways. I'm on the line. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm here. So sometimes when I like roll in, got a little bit too much speed and you park real well, you go this, I'm like, yeah, impressed myself, right? I parked great. So it doesn't matter what it is, but every day you have to impress yourself. So I did my own study on this, super interesting. People who disappoint themselves more than they impress themselves tend to psych themselves out rather than psych themselves up. People who impress themselves more every day have an innate ability to psych themselves up for something that feels big for them without psyching themselves out and feeling nervous or afraid. So we got to practice it, right? That doesn't happen naturally. We have to do that consciously, meaning that when you do little things, when you win little battles, when you do something awesome, when you ace your test, whatever that is, allow yourself to feel good about it. Allow yourself to hype yourself up. Okay, that's going to take you a long way in building your own positive mentality. Okay, so last piece to being present on a day-to-day basis, simple question, okay? I don't have this to give to you, but if I went up to you and I said, hey, you want $1 million? What would you say? How many of you would turn down $1 million? Raise your hand if you would just say, no thank you, I would not like $1 million. I saw one hand go up and then mom was like, absolutely not, we will take that $1 million. Thank you. Okay, I get it. Okay, so almost all of you were like, yeah, you're going to give me $1 million, that's great. Okay, now what if I added one stipulation to that? And the stipulation was, I will give you $1 million, but you don't get to wake up tomorrow. How many of you are taking it now? Raise your hand. Yeah, nobody, right? So think about this. If you're saying that you would not take the $1 million if it meant that you couldn't wake up tomorrow, then what you're saying is tomorrow is worth more than $1 million. Tomorrow is worth $1 million or more. So when you wake up, you got to feel like $1 million because you just made that choice right in front of me. You said, I'd turn that down. Yeah. And if tomorrow's worth $1 million, then you wake up, you be present, you do the things that you're supposed to do, you celebrate yourself, you win the small battles, you be where your feet are. And that's the only way that we get better every single day is by winning the moments within the hours and winning the seconds within the moments and being present and feeling like $1 million. Okay, so that's the type of mindset that we got to have to be present in what we're doing. And we do that in the present, but we got to learn from our past. Yeah, that was a good cue. You missed that one. I got you. It's fine. Okay, our past is a place of reference, not residence. So think about those two words. Reference is like you look at a dictionary. How many of you have read the dictionary top to bottom? Nope. You reference it, you open it, you look at a word, you look at what it means, and you close the book. Same thing with our past. You have a terrible game, golden sombrero, 0 for 4, 4 strikeouts. Man, that was a terrible game. What can I learn from it? Close the book and move on. It's your only option, right? Because if you reside there, residence is like a place that you live. If you choose to live in your past, choose to live in the 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, you're probably going to repeat that. You're definitely not going to do anything really successful because you're choosing to define who you are and your identity with what you've already done in your past, good or bad. Okay, so that can lead to good and bad. Most of the time bad. Okay, but we got to treat past failures as lessons. We talked about the idea of failing forward. That's what that means. It's a lesson. There's a great book out there about neutral thinking. It's called It Takes What It Takes. And it was by Russell Wilson's mindset coach. And it's all about the idea that when something happens, your response has to be, it is what it is, and from here it takes what it takes. That's it. It's already done. It happened. It is what it is. Now what I control is what I do about it, so it's going to take whatever it's going to take. When we have past successes, a lot of times that gives us confidence. And confidence is a great thing. We like confidence. I don't know anybody who doesn't like feeling good and feeling confident. But when we live in our past about the good things that we've done, a lot of times that becomes our pride. That becomes you. I always have a couple players on the baseball side of the program, and I haven't felt this or seen this from the fast pitch side, but you get like a 15-year-old kid that's always telling you how good he was when he was 9. Coach, I hit 9 home runs when I was 9 years old. Wow. You're 15. Stop living there, right? Like what you've done cannot be the only thing that you care about because then you're missing out on what you can do. Okay, so past successes are great. They can build our confidence, but we still got to move on from them so we don't get too prideful, which gets in the way of our development. And living in a bad past, the negatives, that's a lot of shame. Things that we've done that make us feel less than, that make us feel down, that make us feel dark, that just feel heavy. We all have them. But we have to make the conscious choice to not reside there. Learn from it. I did this. That led to this response. I don't want to experience that response again, which means I have to do something different. Right? None of these things are like blow your mind thinking. They're just put in a way that you haven't thought of before. And when you can simplify your own process, then you take control of what you can do. Okay? And that control gives you the ability to create extreme ownership. Okay, so what is controllable is not your starting point. I saw a strength coach that did an activity. I did it when I taught every year, and I loved it. I would take my whole class out to the football field, and I would have a list of these statements. And for every statement that I read, they would have to take a step forward if that statement applied to them. So I'd read things like, take a step forward if your parents are still together. Cool. Take a step forward if you have your own bedroom. Cool. And while all these people were stepping forward because of these advantages that they were given, you had a lot of people that weren't stepping forward. So you have these people at different starting points, right? But a lot of the starting point is outside of our control. It's what we were born into, our natural bodies, our parents, the opportunity, all of those things that are outside of our control. And what you control is from that point, I would say, great, we're going to race to the end zone on go. And you know who always ran the hardest? It was the people that had the least provided to them because they wanted it more. They were hungry, right? There's a great interview with Jalen Hurts before the Super Bowl last year. He said, I'm not hungry, I am starving for this. Like, I want this so bad. Okay, and that's exactly where we need to be, because when you allow yourself to feel those things deeply, your work matches that. But a lot of times what we do is we develop these defense mechanisms, and I'll see them, week one in positionals, that keep us from letting other people know how much we care. Things like pretending that we don't care when we make 3 or 4 errors in a row or ignoring the coach. Things like laughing when we screw up 2 or 3 balls in a row because it's easier to act like it's funny rather than actually learn from it and move forward, right? So the hardest part of everything that we're going to do on the physical side this offseason is I need y'all to just allow yourself to be okay failing. Allow yourself to learn from those things without excuse, without emotion, and if there's emotion, it's just celebration of what that good is, okay? You're not who you were. I think that's like, that alone, you can just sit with for a couple of minutes. If you are today exactly who you were last year, then you were failing. You haven't gotten any better, right? If you are exactly who you are right now, a year from now, then you haven't gotten any better. You're not challenging yourself to get better. So take inventory of that, meaning look at where you were a year ago, look at where you are right now, look at where you were 2 months ago, look at where you are right now. And if you feel like you're the same player, then we got to pick up what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, okay? Which leads us to the future of casting a vision and living into it, because where there is no target, there is no aim, and we have to trust our process. So the goal is clarity, okay? When we start talking through what this is going to look like, what time are we transitioning out of this one? I want to make sure I'm relatively on. 11:15? 11:15, okay, perfect. Okay, so with the goal being clarity, clarity means specificity. That's a long word that I probably can't spell, okay? That means we have to be specific about the goals that we set. Second piece is we want to connect to our goal. It has to have meaning for us to care about accomplishing it. If we set a goal because mom or dad want us to accomplish something, but we don't really care about it, we're not going to work to accomplish that. Okay, so players, this has to be something that you want. And if it's not, that's okay. There's a million other things that you can go and pursue in this life. It does not have to be softball. But whatever you choose to pursue, you got to care about it. Then we have to be able to focus in on it and know that it's relevant. Like, where are we going? Why does it even matter? Why do I want to hit 10 home runs this year? What benefit does that give me? And like I said, best thing you can do, create urgency. Put an end point to it. Time-based goals. We get there by being consistent with our daily writing, with the things that we're trying to do, getting 1% better, 14 minutes, 24 seconds better every day. And then tracking those goals. Collecting and reflecting. If you have goals that you have set, most of the time when people tell me what their goals are, it's, I want to go play Division I softball. Cool. What metrics are you tracking to make sure that you're progressing at the rate that you need to progress to get there? Oh, I'm working out 3 days a week and I'm going to hit 2 days a week, and that's awesome. That work is great, but is your work working? Because if it's not, that doesn't mean that you're being trained poorly or not working hard. It just means you got to adjust what that training is to make sure that you're getting the result that you want. But if the training that you're doing is not yielding the result that you want to yield, then we can't just keep doing the same training, right? That's insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So we have to gain clarity on what it is by collecting that data and then reflecting on the data. Okay, how do I adjust what I'm doing? Man, I'm crushing it. I got to stay right on this track. Can I add more? Is there something that's no longer meaningful to me to take out? Okay, so what I want you to do, and I'm going to give you guys, you're going to have about 15 to 20 minutes after we talk through this of on your own, and I'll walk around a little bit, and I see a lot of coaches that can help too, but you guys are going to outline your own goals. And when you're done with these goals, if a coach is here, you can just show them. If you don't have a coach here, you can go ahead and just text a picture of that to your coach if you have a phone. All right. This will stay on this screen. I know it's a little bit hard to read. You guys can move around. I don't care if you sit on stage and do this so you're up here. No problem. Okay. But it's going to tell you exactly what to do. So under specific, that's the what. And I have a full example up here. So if your goal is to, I want to hit the ball harder. My goal is to increase my exit velocity. That is specific. We make it measurable. Well, plus 5 miles an hour. I want to do it by this amount. Now we're measurable. Is it attainable? Well, yeah, I'm going to hit 3 times a week on my own. I'm going to lift 5 times a week, and I'm going to go to hitting lessons once a week. It means I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get smarter in the way that I hit, and then I'm going to implement that on my own. So that makes it pretty relevant, right? Or pretty attainable. Okay, the relevance is my goal is to play college baseball or softball. So in order to do that, I need to hit the ball pretty hard. And then is it time-based? When? Let's do it by the end of 2023, y'all. We got 2 months left of this calendar year. That's 60-ish days that you have remaining to do something to make yourself feel like you accomplished something, right? Do something in that way. Okay, so the final goal is that you write a paragraph. It doesn't even have to be a full paragraph, but you write something that looks like this. I will, not I might, not I will work to, not I could, not I can. Being able to do something doesn't get it done. Doing something gets it done, right? I will increase my exit velocity by 5 miles an hour between now and the end of 2023. I will do this by hitting 3 times a week on my own, going to weekly lessons, lifting weights, and tracking my progress once each week. This goal is a small step in reaching my bigger goal of playing in college and will help me find more extra base hits in the upcoming season. Okay, now, yours doesn't have to be exactly like that, but when you outline each aspect of it, you just put those things together and do a little sandwich, and there you go. You have your goal that if you just read every morning, that can be part of your 1424. You just read it, that's going to keep you focused on where you're trying to go, right? Now, you can have individual goals. You can have team goals. You can have sport-specific goals, academic goals, a lot of different aspects that you can come up with on your own. So click one more time. What I want you to come up with today is one goal that's sport-specific. So softball specific, with your coaches, your teammates, whatever. It is your individual goal. You can just sit with them. But don't let them choose your goal. It has to matter to you. Second one is a personal goal. Okay, a personal goal. So that can be an academic goal in school. That can be a social goal, your ability to have friends and hang out with people, do some of that. It could be a service goal, something that you want to do to help others. Something that is not softball related. Okay, we want to grow you as people, not just softball players. So we need a softball goal, we need a personal goal, and then we need a mindset goal. How do you increase your mindset from where you are now to where you want to be? Okay, those are the 3 goals that we're writing out. Okay, now to make sure that you have the outline of it up here, okay, I want you to write down those 3 words, softball, personal, mindset, and then we'll change this slide right back and give you guys the rest of the time to be able to actually outline and create your goals.